Just wanted to go over this brochure that we put together a little bit. On the front page is I stole this from a rabbi. His name was Funk, probably in the 50s, and he said man is one of two things. He's either committed or he's confused. As you go through this, you're going to see that the route of confusion really takes you down a horrible road when you don't know just exactly what you believe in, what you don't. The road to being committed is a little different passage. It puts together a couple of interesting thoughts. One is I really do manage now what I do. I take a hard look at this body and I begin to examine it. What am I doing today? What has brought on this issue? How can I correct it? And if I'd have done this 80 years ago, maybe I would have been a little healthier person. But the other side is this commitment, where the profit is, by the way, because we're chasing in numerous ideas of getting healthy and creating energy and all of that. So with that said, this purpose that follows energy, and without energy, there is nothing. There's no healing, there's no energy, there's just a blob of nothing. So we find ourselves getting energy from energy drinks, stimulants, because our food source is really quite poor. So with that in mind, truly the trust of believing what is being said over here that takes you down this road that's poorly traveled. Less than 3% of Americans, according to the Mayo Clinic, are healthy. And it's within that you look at this and go, well, that means 97% of us are somewhere between not as healthy as the rest, but we're working toward it. So I give you this other picture, the greatest thief in time. And when a person subscribes to the reasoning that whatever you eat is fine because it'll be converted and there's no way of getting around it, and then the end results of that is a very unusual word. It's called presentism. And we present our bodies in the workforce, in the world of academia, in the world of religion, in just so many worlds, family, and we just can't get it going. And you know, that's problematic because if we cannot produce what we can maximize, in other words, you're living down here in a world where energy is so non-prevalent, and you've got to function with energy to get up and go do something. And because of that, we see in the middle part of this that when you're not feeding the cells, they begin to die. And all nutrition, now I'm talking about emotional nutrition, what you listen to, what you watch, what you put in your body physically, is designed to protect, it's designed to rebuild, energize, and above all, to clean. You know, after 24 hours of doing whatever we're doing, we leave a mess in our body, and if you haven't figured out, cleaning it out would be a real plus. It's an interesting science how your system will only take certain B-complex vitamins and run them back through the body, attaching itself to all of the junk that you've left in there in prior and taking it out. And then the remarkable thing about, since the lymph system works from here down, and there's no lymph system in the brain, the magic of how we are created shows us that in a deep sleep, deep REM, the brain literally shrinks by upwards to 60%, and then there's a backwash of fluid that cleans out the amyloid beta plaque and some of the other junk that's involved. Well, wouldn't it be nice to have that sleep, which right now about 60% of Americans never see it. So they're just starting off the next day in a bad position. When nutrition is not met, well, the cells begin to die, toxicity accumulates, energy declines, and with that, mental energy goes out the tube also. So in this iceberg-like look, we know that only a small percentage of an iceberg really is above the surface. And that's the group of people that get the attention. The most money is spent trying to reevaluate their life, help them out. Where wouldn't it be really good. If we got down here where people are struggling with life, with stress, with trauma, diabetes, and above all, feeling abandoned in their life. Abandonment, to me, is at the core of our issues, because when you are abandoned, you get really angry. You get angry with life, you get angry with your friends, no tolerance. But the minute that takes place, there's an addiction right behind it, be it pornography, eating habits, drinking disorders, all kinds of issues come into play. Now, I have found that the quickest way to clean that up is if I care for somebody else. Well, to care for somebody else, I first have to care for myself to demonstrate that it's done. And in my 84 plus years on planet, I sure wish I'd have learned this younger. Although in my case I did. It was just when I got to be in my teens, I decided to do differently. So all of the things that are available to us on the wrong side, that we will definitely pay a price for. If we had someone introduce us to this, someone who cared and formulated some words that would get our attention, maybe we'd give them an audience. And that's what we at Nefesh really want to give to you, is that opportunity to say the right things at the right time with the right environment, your own personal environment, to get your friend's attention. You know more about his needs than anybody else. There is no doctor, no psychiatrist, no counselor around that when you're working with somebody, they don't tell you what's going on. I encourage you to look into what we're doing and how we have reached out and put together, first of all, the reasons why you should quit eating this trash, the ultra-processed, the synthetic, the foods that we buy and sell. You know, from a scriptural basis, it says, why would you eat something that has no value to it? That's from the book of Isaiah. So if we look at this, some of the things that we are really talking about is naturally forming glutathione, cholesterol. We're talking about important things within the gut. If we can get the gut cleaned, well, that's where your immune system begins, and also your emotional depression. And it's also now considered the third brain. So when we get that stable with a correct diet, correct supplementation with our product, all at once your immune system comes up, you begin to feel better. And by the way, people that are healthy work better than people that are unhealthy. So along with that, recognizing that fats are the best form of creating ATP that you can find. And we produce an entourage of things that produce ATP. Our goal is simple at Nefesh. Create energy, clean up the mess. That's simple. And when doing so, for less money, twice the mileage, and your immune system comes up, you begin to look healthy. And maybe you could come up and join me in this type of terrain later on. So the idea here is to dump oxygen, which we know is so important, increase the oxygen flow to the cell, which we use some real interesting elements found in red beets, along with controlling adiponectin and ghrelin, which are hormonally driving your eating habits. So if we recognize that our eating habits are directly driven by our emotions, well, why don't we deal with that and then turn your body into a fat burner? That being done, you get healthy, you lose weight, all of the things for half the amount of money, get all your vitamins and minerals and antioxidants. You are in fabulous shape.